Was I on mute the whole time? Oh, geez. All right. Well, anyway, gotta laugh at that. Um, so, all right. So today's episode is about how to not practice unsafe sex, and what we're going to be discussing is a lot of the relevant news in the industry right now. Um, and we have a really cool guest speaker today talking about cybersecurity best practices and how we can operate at home without um, getting hacked, all that good stuff. And then when it comes to crypto, losing our coins and tokens. So we have really cool information to share with you on that, where um, we can really learn how to do it right the first time. And that's what it's all about. So what started all this mess, I guess, gosh, almost 2 years ago now, is we have these centralized exchanges. And if you recall from the Super Bowl 2 Super Bowls ago, we had several ads in there where we had the celebrities pumping FTX. And the problem is, those companies who have the biggest marketing budget, they rope in the consumers who think it looks really easy to get involved in crypto, and come to find out those exchanges are not regulated, and that's a big problem. You just don't know what's going to go on, and it's a global economy. And so the problem is, those companies are doing whatever they want with customer funds. And gosh, the headlines just came out yesterday as far as how much they were paying and taking. It's really sad. I feel bad for how many people lost their capital, but that can be prevented. So what we teach is how to not practice unsafe sex. CEX stands for centralized exchange. And so what we do is we can use those to onboard and offboard our fiat dollars, and then transfer that to our wallets, which can be on our phone, on our browser, or even on the little thumb drives. So that's how you can protect it. And there's best practices that go with that. There's pros and cons to all those as well. So, it just takes repetition. Just like any new thing with technology, it takes time to learn. Just like when you get a new app, you'll figure it out eventually. And there's tips and tricks that you learn along the way. And it's really fun to see, clients text me or email me like, "Hey, Charlie, I placed this trade today. And I took profit," and things like that. And so, we'll get it. And this is just the beginning. Bitcoin started, about 12 years ago, Ethereum 6 years ago. And, we saw a huge, uptick because of the pandemic lockdown. Even myself, I got started at the beginning. I was super excited to just be able to focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum and absorbed everything I could. And that's kind of the beginning of it for me. I started like dabbling in it, like 2014. But I was professionally licensed at the time, and we don't do anything but stocks and mutual funds. And that's kind of, we all have our own journey. So yeah, it's been a fun journey for myself. Wins and losses, you got to learn from the losses, and you pick up the best practices, and it's really fun to like take people along the way as well. So let's dig into our guest. I got a bio here, Mr. Gregory Tanner, and I'm going to also pull him up on screen, add to stream. Okay. And Greg, I've known recently through the Denver business community, and really enjoyed getting to know him. I hate this term, but pick his brain a little bit. And we've had some fun conversations, some scary conversations. And it'll be fun to get some of the stories out of him today. But so Greg Tanner is the CEO at Cynthetic Systems, which delivers dynamic state-of-the-art cybersecurity and technology solutions to organizations. He is an expert in assisting smaller and mid-sized organizations understand the complex and sometimes daunting process of developing a cybersecurity program. Mr. Tanner originally trained in cybersecurity as a contractor at the U.S. Department of Defense. Greg is a senior information security professional with a solid technical background and a highly analytical mind. He has been involved with the information technology field for the last 20 plus years, of which the last 7 plus in a cybersecurity professional occupation. Awesome. And Greg, I think we'll get you unmuted. Can you say hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us in our pilot episode of Goose Live, and appreciate you being here. And it goes back to my saying, get started the right way in crypto, safely, confidently, and then profitably. So I appreciate you sharing your expertise with our audience today, and we're gonna have some fun.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be a part of the first show.
Yeah. Why don't you share a little bit more beyond your bio about yourself, and we'll get into some questions here.
Sure. So I've been in information technology a long time, but I actually got in cybersecurity before cybersecurity was a thing. So it was very difficult to talk to anyone about cybersecurity because it was kind of a cutting edge technology or idea. So when I first started, I would call it probably a big failure just because I couldn't get anyone to really believe in it. So, but most recently got into it, and I've always been passionate about working with smaller businesses and solopreneurs because I feel like they're the ones with the targets on their back, and really there are a lot of solutions out there for people that are robust and affordable and mature, and I think people just don't understand what's available to them. So that's really my passion right there. I do work with mid-sized companies as well, but my passion really is that solopreneur, really small businesses. Right now we're working on a campaign endpoint for everyone, so we're working to really help individuals understand how to secure their home laptop or desktop or their environment, because there is a lot of bad actors out there. As you mentioned, the FTX piece, bad actors are everywhere. I mean, we've seen it with Bernie Madoff. I mean, and that was a regulated industry over decades, right? So I think people misunderstand how what happened at FTX, but really happened at FTX was not a technology breakdown. It was really just a criminal act. I mean, the same as Bernie Madoff. And so I don't think there was it was a technology or security breakdown. It was literally, a fox in the henhouse. And that's something that's very difficult to gauge. And as you know, as a licensed broker, there are people that are bad actors out there in a regulated industry. No matter what you do, it's hard. It's difficult to vet out those people that are just literally thieves.
Yes, and I always say compliance is career insurance, and it's just the world we live in, and we have to get used to the regulations. So as far as the at-home user, the solopreneur, and myself being one, I finally got a VPN, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I still don't probably use it the way I'm supposed to. The firewall. Do I have one with my antivirus program? What can users, I guess, use as a resource, or do you have any tips or tricks, how to for best practices?
Yeah. Really, there's what's called endpoint or SaaS. You'll say SASE, SASE, but I hate, excuse me, I hate talking about acronyms, but really endpoint security. And we offer, not to be talked too much about it, but we offer the best security product that offers endpoint security, um, anti-malware, ransomware, anti-phishing, and a VPN for both desktop and your mobile. I think a lot of people forget all about their phone, so you need to think about that because you probably use your phone a little bit more than you actually use your desktop. So,
Right.
and when we talk about VPNs, those are essentially tunnels that are secure, that secure your data from one point to another, and that means from your phone to a certain website or an application. So that's what a VPN is. It's basically just a tunnel. It keeps you private. Imagine going in, like living with a bunch of roommates. You don't want anyone to see what you're doing. You basically go in a room and shut the door. That's what a VPN
Hmm.
um, is like. So you're private, right? So I recommend, excuse me, I recommend getting um, using a VPN, and using endpoint security constantly. I mean, you just don't know who's watching. You don't know what kind of malicious code is out there, and that's if you're using some endpoint security and anti-phishing, it will warn you this is a malicious site. This does not this certificate is not valid. The code behind here is malicious. Don't go there. And all you have to do is listen to it, and it won't allow you to go there. Now, of course, a lot of people bypass it and do that anyway, but you should not. You should listen to that endpoint security. So I think that's what people need to do on a very basic um, security practice. It's good security hygiene. It's not very expensive. Most of these products are around 70 to $100 a year per license. Usually, the license comes with a desktop or a laptop license and a mobile license, so you get the best of both worlds. So, for a peace of mind, for about $100 a year, it's worth getting anti-phishing,
Brainer.
anti-malware, endpoint security, um, encryption, and you want to encrypt your data so that if someone takes your data, they can't use it. And that's also good hygiene as well. I think a lot of the things that we see with bad actors and their success is all in phishing. So when we
Yeah.
talk about like last year OpenSea, when they got, OpenSea didn't get hacked. Um, OpenSea, who is the largest platform for NFTs. Does anyone knows about that, right? So there is blockchain there. You don't the blockchain. If the blockchain gets cracked or hacked, you lose the entire ledgers, which means everything on that blockchain is worthless. So hackers know that not to break that ledger, so they don't want to do that. But what they do want to do is use the layers and the applications around blockchain to get assets, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's an NFT or whatever. So what happened was OpenSea said, "Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do the software release. We're going to do an upgrade." And when they did that, they literally told everybody, "Here's going to be the process." They were open about it, and guess what? Well, there was a bad actor and said, "That's great. Thank you very much." Took that information, took the little email, changed the email,
Yep.
made it look a little different, directed their web traffic to a different website which they owned, and when you clicked, upgrade your software, you gave access to that wallet, to your wallet, to somebody, and in that's what happened. And once you clicked that wallet and gave access to the wallet, they basically cleaned you out. And that's how that happened. That was a phishing attack. That wasn't even a malware attack or a cracked code attack.
Yeah.
So phishing is probably the most prevalent attack surface that I see. And a phishing attack is really just a fake email, where instead of OpenSea, it was actually, that was a zero in front of in the OpenSea email, which is, you can't tell, right? Like if you don't look, you can't tell that's a zero and not a no. And
Yeah,
that's
they're so tricky.
bad actors are super smart and tricky to do this sort of stuff. They changed the color a little bit. They changed, a couple of small things, and you go to a site, you think you're at OpenSea. Well, it's actually zero OpenSea, right? It's not a no, it's a zero.
Yeah.
But people didn't catch that till it was too late. And by the way, if you give somebody your wallet and they want to take your money, they're going to take your money, right? It's not, that's what happens. So that's what I see a lot of that. I see a lot of fake real applications. So NitroCon out of Turkey, that's a cybersecurity gang. They took Google Translate and made a desktop application. Well, Google doesn't make desktop applications. They only make mobile applications and browser applications or plugins. So when you do a search, NitroCod, Google Translate for desktop, people were downloading it thinking that was a valid application, right? It looks like Google Translate. It's not. It wasn't. So they let it sit for about 90 days. And at some point it says, hey, you need to update your Google Translate software.
Really?
So you update the software, which actually kicked in the malicious code. The malicious code looked for things like NVIDIA video cards. Is this a desktop? Is it mining? Right? And when it found those miners, it turned those miners and got that information and stole the people's wallets and Bitcoin. And surprisingly enough, the product that we talk about, Checkpoint, actually caught the software as malicious software and stopped it if they had the software on it. Now, a lot of people in Turkey, a lot of people all over the world don't use endpoint security, and so those are the types of things we see, and we see in these threat reports. And you're like, well, they're just really clever people. They're not actually writing like this monster malicious code and getting away with murder essentially, or burglary. And so having a simple endpoint security is the best practice I could ever say. And no, Comcast security isn't real security. There's security there, but that isn't like a security hygiene practice. You do
so
have
you're talking about like the firewall that comes with your Comcast
and it's
service.
technically not a firewall. I mean, it's a connection to the Comcast network. So you're essentially on the network with everybody else that you can't see, because because they mask that traffic to everybody. Essentially, you're on the same network as everybody else in the US or wherever Comcast is. And most people don't do what we call network translation. So a network translation, right? Your address,
we're getting some latency,
right? So, okay.
It slowed down for a second.
Catch up.
I think it's fine now.
Okay.
So that's just that one last point. Sorry.
So you get an address given to you by Comcast or CenturyLink or your provider. And a lot of people don't change that address. So if they give you this address, you don't change it, well, all your devices are broadcast through that same address, right? Well, the best practice is to translate that address. So yeah, you can have this public address that Comcast gives you, but internally, you change the network. And so that's technically what a firewall does, right? The fire stops at the front end, and it doesn't burn the rest of your house down. Well, a
Okay.
lot of people don't change that address. There's no firewall. The fire comes
Mm.
in, and the fire burns the house down. That's what a firewall generally is. So your best practice is to translate those addresses, build a firewall. Yeah, you can have this address. Your internal address is completely different. Someone can get to this address, but when you change this address on the inside, they don't know what that address is, right? That's how you translate your network. So you hide your network, so to speak, through your firewall.
Mhm. So do
And
you provide services like, I guess, from your point of view, that's simple and not as advanced, but for the regular user at home, is there
yeah,
simple stuff like that you can help with?
we do remote. We have a remote tool where we can securely connect to the
Hmm.
person's network, and we do it in under an hour, and we can do it
Hmm.
anywhere. So we can do
That's pretty
that.
cool.
We also do we offer security tests. So simple security. If you go to our site, you can run a security test, put in your email, and you'll get a report in 5 minutes, and it's free.
Oh, cool.
So you can see whether or
I'm
not
gonna
your
run that again.
firewall is protecting you, whether or not you have endpoint security. Um, and don't be alarmed. I've never had anyone just pass with flying colors right the first time, because there's always something.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to take a quick break. I know you have some more stories to share. I think there was a high profile team in town you were telling me about that utilizes your services, and they had some crazy results. So let me just take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay. So I'm not muted this time.
no,
Good. Oh gosh.
at least
Hey, first time for everything and new mics. Is the light supposed to be blinking or not blinking to say if it's muted or not? It's
yeah.
not a simple on-off switch. Uh, anyway, um, well, cool. Yeah. Do you think that story you shared with me a couple weeks ago it's pretty relevant? Because it has to do with social media, your phones, all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. We've been asked to we were asked to do a social, or we were just asked to see what was happening with all of the staff and their families, and it was an interesting weekend because there's a lot going on, um, and you know people share too much information through their social media. Um, I mean, of course, I'm one of them, but I try to be more careful. But people like to share. Oh, hey, look at me. I'm here. A lot of these the staff's wives were at an event, and they took pictures and shared those, and then of course tagged each other, right? So some of the people you didn't know who their spouses were, but some of them you were like, oh, that's that's his wife, this guy's wife, and he's a high profile person in Denver, and they're both out, of their house from
Boy.
whatever time it was they went to dinner to through the night, and you could just watch. Literally, it was like it's kind of a spy show where you're like, yeah, he's 5 feet away. Yeah, she's 3 feet away. No, okay, now he's 1 foot away, and they were telling everybody this piece of it, right? So one we were able to find one family that wasn't home for a period of 7 hours, Um, and so their house was probably empty, and someone could break in. That's part of the social engineering aspect of that
Mm.
piece of it. Um, Other pieces were kids were not, they were on social media, Snapchat, WhatsApp, whatever, um, and hey, we're here. Can you share the Wi-Fi password, kind of thing?
Oh,
That was given up. Uh, so a lot of weird, small, seem insignificant, but were significant. It's pretty much out of everybody we looked at of that organization, about 2% passed the litmus test.
jeez.
So it's super important to understand that people, you're milliseconds away from having eyes on top of you, you know, and I think people are like, oh, Facebook or Twitter, and they love to share stories, but don't take pictures inside your house with
Mm.
where the doors are, windows, etc. That's also, so don't take pictures while you're on vacation, saying you're at vacation. Always,
Do it after.
do it after, or do it a long time after, right?
That drives me nuts. I
Yeah.
know.
Um, and don't let people, secure your, especially like on Facebook. Don't let people tag you. You know that you
Yeah,
can.
I
There's a
don't
setting where you
anymore.
can say don't tag me, right? So people can't say, we're here. This is Greg, et cetera, et cetera. So try not to do that. The other setting, the biggest social engineering that I see is LinkedIn. Be really careful about your LinkedIn profile.
Really?
Yes, because you're this is where small businesses get in trouble, because they'll have staff, and they'll put their information out there, and they'll say, oh, look, Charlie Stivers, I wonder what his email is at his company. What's that email format? And there are tools out there that are free, like
Oh, the format.
Snowio. No, here's
Yes.
the format. Oh, it's C dot last name at the company,
Hmm.
and then I'm going to do a phishing attack to them, to everybody, and so from LinkedIn you can find all the staff there and change, do a phishing attack that way. Um, you can sometimes, if they have a phone number, you can try to do a fatigue attack where you send multiple text messages to the person, to the point where they just give up the information, because they're like, well, something's not working here. I'm going to give this information up, because they just get tired of.
That was one of the stories you told me about. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, it's called a fatigue attack. So I think that's basic security hygiene that you need to be aware of, right? A lot of small businesses, a lot of solo entrepreneurs, they don't have that conversation with any type of professional. They never do a security assessment. Some people don't know what they have. Like, I talked to a business owner. What what kind of laptop do you have? I don't know. I have three of them. Okay. So,
Right.
so having a conversation with someone and understanding, what good cybersecurity hygiene is really the best thing, that where you can start and spend no money. It's all education.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. One of the monikers I've always really related to, especially in crypto, is convenience doesn't equal security. And that's what we need to be proactive about.
right,
And one of the things that you may have overlooked it, but I just remember I have young kids, and the biggest threat they're saying, or best practice for them, is not to use geotag in the
yeah,
pictures or something like
that
that
too.
now.
No metadata, right?
Metadata. Okay.
So there's metadata in pictures, right? Where when you take a picture with your phone, that it'll say like this picture was taken on X day at the location, right? They'll give you the location, maybe the city, the city and state.
Yeah.
But I mean, it depends on how open you leave your phone and data. I mean, people, I see this all the time. People are, using electronic business cards, and I think that's pretty cool, right? Really fascinating. It's awesome. But if I say, hey, use my business card, and I put some malicious code in there and leave a back door, I can, next time I see you, maybe you have Bluetooth on, maybe we're on the same Wi-Fi, and I execute my code. Hey, by the way, send me all of Charlie's, all of his contacts in a flat CSV. Thank you.
And that's the NFC technology where
Yep.
it's like the
It's
bump.
QR code, right? It's the QR
Yeah.
code. Yeah. So,
Oh, so
so
even that.
yeah, those, because you don't know who wrote that code.
Hmm.
Again, that's what happened with this Google Translate, right? It looks like a real standard software. Well, if you're a bad actor, you're like, hey, I'm going to give you, a business card, right? And I'm going to sell these for cheap because and that make it, I'm going to make it really attractive. Now I've got this, and then 90 days later, I click on, hey, send out a malicious attack to all these phones and send all the whatever I want to get off that phone, right?
Hmm.
Send me the geolocation. Where do they live? Where do they go to? Um, how many contacts do they have? That there's so much data
That's
that's in your
scary.
phone. Your phone is really scary. And I think the thing that scares me the most is when you watch like 48 hours. Like if you have a phone on you and you commit a crime, you're going to get caught like in 3 or 4 hours. I
That's a
mean,
good point too.
it is crazy what's on your phone. I mean, if you're going to commit a crime, don't carry a phone. And I mean, don't turn it off. I mean, literally
There's some best
take your phone.
practices for you.
Yeah. So I think you've got to be really concerned about what's your phone, right? And a lot of people leave their
Uh-huh.
Bluetooth on. A lot of people use Google Pay or Apple Pay,
Oh,
and Bluetooth is an open. There's nothing really locked in there. A lot of people, you can go, I'm going to connect to that device. Oh, look, there's a credit card. I'll just save that for later,
yeah.
right? That's a
Yeah. And I'm
it,
glad you brought a lot of this stuff up because it doesn't just apply to crypto. I mean, crypto is getting a lot of the attention as far as these hacks and thefts and things like that. But this is the digital economy and that we're dealing with, and that's
exactly.
the title of my show is preparing for the digital economy. I forgot to introduce that, but this is stuff we need to know and be aware of.
And you're paying. I mean, how many people carry $100 in cash anymore? Right? It's an ATM card. It's an
Yeah.
ATM card with a smart chip in it. Or you pay with Google Pay, or you pay with iPay, or you don't carry currency anymore. And I think as we go forward, that's going to happen. I think even more importantly now, I think you can probably help with this. Understand what a smart contract is, how to read that code, what those fees are, what are the terms, because a lot of bad actors, you know, will create Greg coin, right? Hey,
Right.
buy coin. Oops.
Oh, it's breaking up
You
again.
can look at the code. Am I back?
I think we're okay. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So Greg coin, you buy it for a fee of, let's say I'm selling it for $1. There's a fee of 8 cents, right? You're looking through your smart contract. You want to read that smart contract. Yeah, you're paying the fee of 8 cents, but actually, when you execute the function, I'm charging you 99 cents. So you get
Yep.
a penny. I get the 99 cents. Well, I go
Right.
one step ahead of that smart contract and say, by the way, you can buy my Greg coin, but I'm the only one that can technically sell it. You can't sell it. So
Yeah.
now you own nothing really, right? I own the whole thing. I control the whole thing. All of that is in the smart contract in these coins or your transactions. So you have to understand how to read those and how to read what happens when you make that smart contract function. Those are things that people don't understand, or that, or it's not convenient. This is a long smart contract, or I don't know what I'm looking at, so I'm just going to buy it because it sounds good anyway. And that's
Yeah.
how people are getting robbed. I mean, you can get robbed in the same way on the street. Hey, give me $1, I'll give you a penny. And
Right.
people will do that.
Yeah.
They will. It's a real thing. Um, I think those are kind of how you got to think in this world now. You got to read and understand that everything
Yeah.
that's happening.
Yeah.
And it's
The
all,
emotions that go into crypto, especially if you're kind of, hunting for the next 10x, 100x, it can get really intense. And like I was even a victim on one of the examples that you gave. Ben Mesrick, he's the author of like all the cool financial books and movies, like Bringing Down the House and 21. So he's coming out with an NFT collection, and I'm a big fan. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I got on their whitelist, and someone got into Discord and sent out messages, and it was like Clubhouse.io, and they sent out a email on my waitlist, and it was like Clubhouse.is. And because it's like the urgency's there, you don't double, triple check, and before you know it, you're sending money to a fake address. So that's one of the things I really caution people about, is getting caught up in these urgency stuff where it most likely will be a pump and dump. They call them honeypots too, like the one where you can't get your money back out. So it's most of the good projects are there, and there's no reason to rush into some of these just for a chance to 10x your money. So that's a really good example that you get.
and don't forget, anything that sounds too good to be true is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so you can sleep on it. If you're looking to, it's okay to have high risk, right? If that's okay. If
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to try to 10x your money, you've got to be 10x ready to lose your money. So I think investors, people, I think people in general don't understand that. That's the game, right? So if you can't lose 10x your money, then don't invest in anything that you're trying to 10x your return on.
Yeah.
And that's pretty simple. Like if you don't have $11 to lose, don't try to invest your $1.
Right.
And I think people get that sense of urgency. Oh, I want to make, $100,000 when they,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, well, do you have $100,000 to lose? And they're like, well, no. Well, then you probably shouldn't be doing this transaction.
Yep.
Because that's that game. I mean, that's the way it's played.
All right, let's take another quick break, just like barely a minute, and then if you can have like one final last point to cover, and almost done. All right, we're back. So let me tease, I guess, part of my journey. I have a publishing background, and I saw that, I was a reader of Bitcoin magazine, and I saw that they were the only magazine out there. And so in the marketplace, I was like, I think there's a need for a good crypto, digital asset, blockchain magazine. So I launched Goose Magazine beginning of this year, and wanted to further my media expansion into live and on demand. I didn't want to just be a YouTuber because there's plenty of crypto YouTubers. So I was doing some research and found this E360 TV opportunity. And it's, we'll see how it goes. I love the support, and I'm not a big streamer at home, but I know a lot of people are. So this is on Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. So again, thank you, Greg, for being here. Yeah, any final points or golden nuggets that you got?
Yeah, I think being in this crypto world and starting to learn about it really in the beginning, if you're looking to invest and get involved with kind of the media that you're providing with Goose Magazine, right? So, because what you'll see are good resources and people that have already spent a significant time in the space. So you don't have to learn 10 years of crypto. You could pick up the phone and talk to Charlie, or there was a tax advisor there in Goose Magazine. There were women leaders, that sort of stuff. I think get your information from a reliable source, and you don't have to go. When this whole community started to grow, you relied on Twitter, and you had to sift through. You still have to sift through so much information to understand like what's next, what's hot, can I really make money, et cetera, et cetera. Right? It's a giant revolution, like you said. I think you said in your
Evolution of the internet.
right. So I think it's not going to go away. Blockchain is the most secure way to do a transaction. It's not. Like I said, it's not going to break. It's good. Decentralized finance is going to happen in a big way. It's going to keep going because take, for instance, what just happened with SoFi or Silicon Valley Bank. Like they failed, right? I mean, there's compliance there.
Fractionalized banking.
Yep. It's not, I think the more you learn about DeFi, the more you're going to be like, this is really the wave of the future. And of course, there's bumps in the roads, et cetera, but it's going to come back if you're patient. I think a lot of people want to get rich fast, right? That's part of the whole glory, glamour, and gluttony of FTX. That you got burned. You got burned because that guy's like, hey, look, Tom Brady's here, or whatever. I mean, Bernie Madoff. You don't have enough money. I only take certain clients on. I only do this, right? He was telling everybody that. Everybody was like, well, I can get in, right? And that's the gluttony you got to, and the greed that you need to stay away from. You need to have calm, cool, collected head.
Yeah, good advice there. Speaking of which, don't take any of this as financial advice. This is just best practices. We're sharing information with you, and talking about compliance. We got to throw that in, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be more and more cases going forward in the future, especially in the magazine where we highlight different projects. And hey, this, just like fundamental business, 90% of these crypto companies are going to fail. And that's what people have to realize. I was looking for one of my favorite memes is the guy with the glasses on Office Space, and it says, "You said there'd be Lambos," and it's like people just need to get realistic with the potential, and there is in some of these. The good ones will make it. Maybe the 10%.
Yeah, and like you said, common sense. With all of everything that we said here, and really like using an endpoint security. It's easy. If you have questions,
Mm-hmm.
you can email me. I'm not going to charge you for questions if you need to email me. Also, you said what 90% of the 90% of the crypto businesses are going to fail. 90% of small businesses fail. It's
Right.
nothing new.
Yeah.
You invest in businesses all the time that fail. That Blockbuster failed. Boston Chicken almost failed.
Almost. I remember
Right.
that.
So I think there are companies out there that with all the time, money, and resources, and everything are going to fail no matter what. There's just not a need for it. That's just the way things happen. So I think that's what people need to think through when they're jumping into this space. It's not any different than any other space. It's just new.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, we got your contact info on there, and appreciate your time, Greg. Good first pilot episode, other than my 3 minutes on mute, but I think it went well. So thank you
Yep.
again, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.